This podcast is part of the OIW Podcasting Network.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Guilmy Talks. This is Guilmy again, of course. And this episode, my guest is Brian White. He's a city councillor and a county councillor for Sarnia, Lambton, and honestly a whole lot more. He's still a musician. He was a documentary filmmaker before getting into politics, and he is also a wrestler. And just started training in his early 40s, and that is just very, very cool. And then how often does a podcaster get to sit down with a politician and talk wrestling and DDPY, and a lot of similarities we have, and it was a great chat. I'm so happy I got to reach out to Brian and get to know the guy a little bit better. And I just want to say to Brian, thank you for coming on the show, being so open and honest, and it was an amazing interview, and we could have probably talked for another couple hours, but that's what part 2's for. if there is one down the road, I have no idea. As you guys know, I kind of do this podcast by the seat of my pants a lot of times, and sometimes I plan out months and then life happens. And I just want to say thank you for everybody who listens. Without you guys listening and downloading and sharing and talking about the show, there's no show. It's just me screaming into the darkness. And sometimes I don't think I appreciate all my listeners enough, because you know what? You guys are fucking awesome, because you continue to listen to my show, kind of support me through it. And whoever's actually buying the merch out there, thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. So somebody is walking around with the Guilmy Talk shirt out there, which is pretty cool. And and go to Launchcart, search Guilmy Talks. It'll also be in the description of the show, guys. So go check that out if you wanna, because I got a cool Guilmy Talks luchador up there now, and I added tank tops, and that was the big ad for this month. Next month I'm gonna add another cadet design, and because why not? Tom's my co-host, my buddy, and I am going to get him back on the show. We just life is happening for Tom right now, so he's a busy boy, and we will talk all about that on the next Talking with Tom, because it was supposed to happen a couple of days ago, but due to my life, I had to cancel on him, and you guys know. So anybody who's messaging me asking about Tom, he's okay, guys. He's just dealing with their life. And go check out batsinthebelfryart.com for any commission works, and why the hell not. Also, Jimmy Vandelay is I noticed he's taking commission works, another amazing artist. If you guys want that special gift for somebody that's individually made for that person, and you don't want to spend thousands of dollars, go to a local artist and get a commission. Like Jimmy Vandelay is awesome. Nessa from Bats in the Belfry Art is awesome. Go check those guys out and support your local artist, because you know what? A lot of their work I think is going to be around for hundreds of years, because that's what art does. People appreciate it more and more, and it describes the time that you're actually in. That's what I think with poets and artists and musicians and all that stuff. Like I saw a meme the other day that actually made me think a little bit about it, and it was Mickey Mouse. If in 10,000 years, if somebody was to dig up Disneyland, they would think this society worshipped a mouse. And, well, it's kind of true, because Disney is a big part of everyone's live right now. I got Disney Plus, and I'm watching everything on it, like New Bob's Burgers for binge watching. I will watch that all day. But here we go, guys. Oh, and I just want to say, go check out everybody on the Johners Network. Go check out everybody on the OIW Podcast Network. And also, I am a new member of another network who they invited me, and I'm just going to bring it up so I don't mess this up, because there we go. The Canadian Wrestling Network, and I'm a part of them as well. And they're just brand new, starting up, but I think that idea is fantastic. Like, there's the Ontario network, there's a Canadian network, and the Johners network is global. I think these three things and Johners is UK based, but there's a lot of Canadians, Americans, and Europeans in it. So, and it's really fun networking and connecting with people who have similar ideas, and that's how I got actually Nick Towers from drew up the Guilmy Talks Lucha, the Luchador, which I think is absolutely amazing. Go check that out on the launch card store. All right, guys, I will talk to you on the back half. Good morning, good evening, good night. How is everybody doing out there? This is Guilmy again. You guys know, you clicked on the link. You guys know I'm back, and this week I have a fantastic guest. I have my first city councillor, county councillor on the show, because we have a lot of mutual friends, and I think it would be a fantastic fantastic guy to would talk to. I have Brian fucking White on the show. How's it going, buddy?
Fantastic, man. Thanks for having me, and good to see you. Good to be on the screen. Good to see you. Good to actually chat with you. I actually, this is kind of a shitty time to ask, but like, have we actually met in person at a show, or is this the first time we're actually chatting?
We've met in passing, because I do go to a lot of shows. Were you at the Chem Valley show? I think that one was in Sarnia. I think we met in the passing there. But when I'm at shows, I'm a wrestling fan. I'm not a podcaster. I don't I don't sell the show unless somebody comes up and says, "Hey, Guilmy, how's the day going?" Which is happening more and more, which terrifies me. But just like a building full of wrestlers and amazing talent, and somebody wants to talk to me about my little podcast. I'm like, that's throws me off a little bit.
That's sweet. That's sweet, though. That's great.
Oh, yeah, it is. And first thing I do want to say, that FTW belt over your shoulder, man, is absolutely beautiful. I love it. It really is. It like the red and gold, it pops. My eye line keeps going right towards it, because it's the thing about belts. I genuinely think they're art too. Oh man, I'm leaning in, guys, a little closer to the mic, so you're going to hear that. Oh my God, that thing is a beautiful belt. I love the finger.
It really is. I'm gonna step away for a sec just as I try and put it back on the mount.
Oh yeah.
I've literally had this thing for 19 hours. So where I'm sitting right now is normally the camera's adjusted just slightly differently, so I have a couple of pictures hanging behind me, but I always had this spot, just blank spot on the shelf, and so this is where I broadcast from for council meetings, and have for like the last 6 months. The first 6 months of the pandemic, I was all over my house, wherever there was a quiet corner, but I finally carved out my little spot here. So normally it doesn't look quite this messy because my camera's just angled slightly differently, but I always had that empty spot there. And yesterday, my cousin wrote me and he's got an unbelievable belt collection. And I mean, I watched his progress photos of them making this thing, handcrafted leather and all that stuff. And he's got a move. And so he's literally just, I mean, he's selling off a bunch of his belts. And I've never been a collector, but he's gifted me a couple of belts. I have an IC title as well. And then, so even though I wasn't in the market, I did, I extend and purchase one of his belts yesterday too, just to sort of help him out. And well, quite frankly, he's given me 2 belts like as gifts. And that's one of the gifts I've had now for not even a full day. And I just love it. It's such a beautiful looking belt.
Oh, it is. And I'm not, now it's the FTW belt, guys. I think Brian Cage is carrying it right now, but it was made famous by Taz in the old the ECW days. And I know you're a huge wrestling fan. And where did the spark kind of happen? When did you first fall in love with professional wrestling?
Man, I mean, it sort of happened a few times in my life, and obviously in stage leading up to me actually wrestling, which is a fantasy and a dream come true. But man, it goes back to the early 80s, to be honest with you, mid to early 80s. There were shows on television here. So I'm in Sarnia, Ontario, which is about an hour away from Detroit, Michigan. So we, as a kid, were able to get, I don't know, something like 13 or 15 channels on the antenna. And depending on the time of day, there seemed to always be wrestling on the weekend. I think at one point, my brother and I would wake up and watch WWF Superstars, and then shortly after that we would watch international wrestling out of Montreal on a different channel. Sundays, or in that later that night, we would watch Maple Leaf Wrestling out of Hamilton. Like the channel was out of Hamilton, but it was obviously out of Maple Leaf Gardens. The next day we would watch Bruiser's Bedlam out of Detroit, which was Dick the Bruiser's promotion. We would watch WWF Cavalcade. We would watch Glow, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. So, I mean, it's not just a fantasy TV show. It was the legit promotion way back then. So I kind of got hooked, and I remember the run up to WrestleMania 1. So that just puts it into context for you. I mean, I remember the footage of Mr. T jumping over the cage and like the barricade and from the audience and saving Hulk Hogan from an attack. That's sort of the era. And I think the first real feud that really cinched it in for me was Greg the Hammer Valentine and Tito Santana. Ooh. Was watching their feud, watching that title back and forth between them, watching Greg smash the green Intercontinental belt and thinking, what is he doing? He's smashing a belt. And then them presenting Tito with what, probably the most classic and recognizable Intercontinental title with the black strap. So that's the early years, man. And it was as real as anything. It was as real as anything, especially when I watched all the different kind of stuff, because it was just so gritty. Watching international wrestling was so gritty. That was, Bravo was the champion at the time with his red leather strap before he went to WWF. Rick Martel would dip in and out of there. Tom Zink was in and out of there, before he went to WWF, and most people don't even remember who he was. But yeah, it was. And the Rougeau brothers were the tag champions before they went. This was before their WWF days as well. So, I mean, I just fell in love with that stuff, and it was gritty and just so real. The crowds were on fire all the time, and the wrestling was, I don't know what people would call just pure, I guess. Just it felt real.
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
It was a lot more brawling, a lot more selling back then. One of the things I personally enjoy watching, I love watching hardcore wrestling, not deathmatch per se, but the hardcore stuff where somebody hits somebody with a stop sign or somebody. That is my favorite right now. Grew up I think my spark was the build up to WrestleMania 3 with Hulk and Andre. That's when I first started. And then when Andre ripped the
Unreal.
cross off Hogan, that's when I was all in, all in at that moment. And I tried and tried, and
Unreal.
I begged my parents to take us to WrestleMania 3. And I okay, I know now I didn't grow up with a lot of money. I I
Hmm.
we did not. I grew up, parents were scraping by, and then my parents moved cities, my dad got a better job, situation got better. So he started taking us out more, and I got to see, what was it? Favorite live match from that era was probably this was when Ultimate Warrior and Andre were feuding, but probably my favorite match I've ever seen back then was Jim the Anvil Neidhart versus the Big Boss Man, because it looked
Ooh.
real to me. It didn't. There were
Just two
no.
hosses just
Yep.
clubbing it out, right?
And I swear to this day that Jim the Anvil Neidhart lost a tooth when Big Boss Man just slugged him in the face, and he spat in the air, went 20 feet up, and I'm like, now I'm thinking, ew, that's gross. But back then, I mean, just like it looked like he was just destroying him, and the big comeback, and yeah, Neidhart beat the Boss Man that night. And now that I know a little bit more about the backstage and how things work, and it's they barely took a bump. They just went at each other, were slugging at each other. And my dad tells me to this day, oh, the match was only like 5 minutes long, but in a 5 minute match, I still remember it like 30 some odd years later. It left a mark. And that's one of the reasons I love
Hmm.
professional wrestling. It just, I can remember moments, right? Just
Yeah, that's what it is for me too. It's about moments and those feelings. I remember being so completely enchanted with wrestling magazines too, because there was this whole other world of wrestling that I never got exposure to on TV, but I would see them on the magazine rack. So I would, quietly sit in a variety store and flip through the magazines and see bloody pictures of these guys I'd never ever got a chance to see on TV, like Ric Flair or
mm-hmm.
Outlaw Ron Bass and some of these other dudes that just seemed just so big and badass. And then every once in a while, somebody would show up in WWF, and I would just lose my shit. Like when Ronnie Garvin showed up, I just lost it. I'm like, oh my god, that's Ronnie Garvin. He's that guy that fought Ric Flair in the steel cage in Detroit, and oh, it was just such
Oh
a
yeah.
great time, because the mythology of it was so cemented in me and a lot of wrestling fans because of all of the different media. But at the same time, like you said, it's like now that you know more about backstage and stuff, back then it was just so inaccessible that the magic was still so very real.
I hate that little clip where you get and you think the guy's just pausing for that half second, and then internet being what it is, just freezes for that like half a second, and it's like, oh, is he still there? Damn it! Moving the mouse around, going, oh, okay,
Yeah.
he's good. Or well, a buddy of mine will do this every so often when we're talking. He just stops, and it pisses me off
Yeah.
because he thinks he's funny, and I love the dude, but next time I get a chance to see him, I'm punching the guy because he keeps doing this. but but I gotta say, I was a huge fan for PWI when they had the top 10 ratings in the back, because half those names I didn't know. I didn't know NWA. I didn't know WCW at that
Hmm.
time. I didn't know Jim Crockett or promotions or any of these things they were talking about. So why did you decide, when you're already a city councillor, you're already doing so many good things for your community, working for the people, and why did you decide to start wrestling training? That this story kind of intrigues me, because you didn't really start out as a young buck, did you?
No, 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 no. It's a fun journey that at any given point I was more than happy, if we'd have reached the end of the line. So it really started with a local promoter in Sisson, who put on a show here. I don't know, I guess about 3.5, 4 years ago, maybe. And on the show, because we hadn't had pro wrestling in Sarnia in quite a number of years. And up until that point, I hadn't taken my son to any live events or anything like that. In fact, is due to just some, issues in health issues related to my kids. We didn't really watch stuff. So I was sneaking to watch wrestling when I was, sitting in my office. That's when I kept on pro wrestling. I just didn't think it was the right time for them. But at that point, things were improving, and I thought it'd be a good time for him to, I knew he was watching it on YouTube anyway, so I just thought now's a good time for us to embrace wrestling. And he had a great year at school, won some academic awards, and so it all just kind of tied together really nicely. And I thought, when I saw the poster for the pro wrestling show locally, I'd never heard of the company. I'd never heard of Smash or anything. But I thought it'd be a great time to, take my son and have us a moment together and enjoy it. And that's really all I expected. It was a great time. I bought a pair of tickets and told my wife, I said, hey, I bought some tickets to the wrestling show and I'm taking our boy and we're going to have fun. So, and that's what we did. MVP was there, which was fantastic. He was the main draw. And then the card was just full of incredible talent, though, from Ontario, from the States, from wherever. And it was a really, really, really incredible show. I quite enjoyed it. I don't know if I'd ever actually been to an indie show up until that point. I think everything up until then was WWF. So I was absolutely blown away by the talent. And I recognized in the crowd that there was probably 120 people, maybe 150 people. And I thought, well, there's no way we can continue to host shows like this in Sarnia if we don't get more people, because I started out in music. I know what it takes to put on shows. I understand organizing events, right? So I immediately reached out to the promoter and said, hey, anything I can do to help you, let me know. I had such a great time and I fucking love pro wrestling. So I want more of this here in town. So just let me know how I can help. Right. So in the middle of the show, MVP was dragging Sebastian Suave around through the crowd. And my son ran up and ended up giving Sebastian a couple of chops as MP held him back. Right. Which was a great moment. I recorded it. I got a photo of it. And I posted it online anyway. And then so Aaron said, hey, that picture with your son chopping Sebastian, why don't you repost that on our event page? And then we'll just start something. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Right. Then maybe talk about how it was so great to see all these professional wrestlers and how talented they were, except for this one guy. Right. I was like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, next thing you know, Sebastian's cutting a video promo on me. And we're building up now. So now I'm in it and we're building up to a show. I cut a promo back, cuts a promo back. I'm like just dying. I think this is great. I'm like, yeah, wrestler cutting promos on me. This is awesome. So I offer on behalf of the city of Sarnia to meet him in the ring, to welcome him properly, to bury the hatchet. And as the old wrestling story goes, it ends up in me getting beat up. And so he ends up winning his match that night against Brent Banks, and I declare, on behalf of the city, that that's not reasonable to happen in my town. We don't allow cheating here. So I offer to handcuff myself to his manager, Anthony James, to at the next match and make sure that interference doesn't happen again. And then it just progresses from there. By the end of that, I'm committed to a tag team match in the next event, and so that's when it happens, right? Like that's when I go, oh shit, what did I get myself into here? I'm 40 something years old. I'm selling like crazy in the ring during all of this stuff, so I think that's what maybe seem like a plausible option. Plus, I understand like local attraction, sell more tickets, blah blah blah. But I didn't look at it that way, and so when the opportunity came to start training for that match, my main goal was to just not die. Don't die in the ring. Number one. And number two, don't make it look like every other celebrity that I ever watched on WWF who got in the ring. And you could clearly tell he fell differently. He sold differently. He looked differently getting hit from every other wrestler in the ring. And I said, I refuse to do that. I'm going to make sure that when I get hit and when I fall and when I do all the things that I'm supposed to do in the match, that it's going to look the same, to the best of my ability, the same as everyone else in the ring, because I believe in the integrity of it so much. And that's what I tried to do in that match, and really how it started.
Awesome.
And I broke my wrist in that match too, but
yeah. Ow.
Which sucks, but
yeah. No, I know. Wrist issues. There we go. Hey, warned you before we started recording, I'm going to crack and pop the entire thing because I'm kind of a broken human. And actually, one thing we do have in common, we both love DDPY. I'm not on the app because, well, I'm cheap, and that's pretty much it. But you're actually working towards your level one certification, correct? Now, how did you go?
Yeah.
How did that actually happen? You go from hey, this program's awesome, I love using it, to wanting to branch out and actually teach others, because correct me if I'm wrong, you're a pretty busy dude to be going back to school for something.
Yeah, well, that's true, but we should always be finding time for hobbies that we love, self-improvement, and really it was an extension of training for wrestling. So after I broke my wrist, and then Destiny came back to town, etc., like this, I continued to be asked to participate in shows, had a feud with Holden Albright, so I continued to train. So that was, that stuff was still very early in my training. And just I'm with my son driving to London and back to train became a really important part of my own well-being, as well as my son's well-being and development. And during that time, I committed to myself that I was going to be physically healthy, and I was going to be leaner and mobile. And, the longer I trained in wrestling, the better I felt. And it was a lot of work. I had to hire a personal trainer. So I was going to the gym regularly suddenly, whereas I never did that before, et cetera, et cetera. But my primary goal always was to not just survive it, but to feel good. And it became a really different part of my life and a different focus than before. I was prioritizing my physical wellness for the first time ever, and saw how beneficial it was for my mental health. I'm going on 11 years sobriety. I have to maintain my mental health in order to stay sober. I see how well it helped my son. And so these experiences and motivations really just led me on what was a natural path. During wrestling training in London, we were getting once a week live in-person instruction from Sarah Fortune, who was Canada's first level 2 DDPY instructor. And I just fell in love with it. And so when the world shut down, last March, a year ago, um, I was panicking because suddenly I lost training at the wrestling dojo 3 night a week. When I could make it. I mean, yeah, I had lots of nights I couldn't make it because I have commitments and I'm busy, but I really prioritized it. And suddenly I didn't have the gym. I didn't have the dojo. I didn't have that aggression, that outlet that was good for mental health. My wife was going off to a facility herself for an eating disorder for 3 months, 4 months, we thought at the time. So suddenly I'm starting a pandemic in an elected official's position where everybody is panicked, everybody is scared. I don't have my wife around, I don't have my physical outlet. I'm worried that my kids might fall off the mental health train that they were on, which they're doing well. My daughter has a number of suicide attempts and things like that. So it was really the thing that I dove into, and I did it 100%. Again, like everything I do, and I jumped into DDPY because it was the only thing I could do from home that made sense. And almost immediately, I felt the changes in my own body. I've had herniated discs, I've had surgeries, I've had all kinds of health issues over the years. And suddenly I was like waking up without pain and not needing ibuprofen, and I could bend over in different ways, and I could squat down, like knee surgeries and things I thought that were gonna, cause me to be a cripple when I was an old. Um, I was being able to do things I never thought I could do physically, and the effect it had on my mental health was just incredible. And I mean, I was driven to politics not because I love power or money, because sure as hell know that working on city council doesn't pay a ton. So it's about that. It's about trying to be beneficial to people and helpful. And that's what sobriety is for me as well. And to me, it was just a natural journey. And when I saw how well DDPY worked for me, and the more people I met in the DDP yoga community, the more I realized I have a great opportunity here in Sarnia to bring something nobody else is doing in the wellness community, and you know, teach people that I see struggling and people that I see suffering, and showing them a different path, and at the very least being an example. But you know, every goalpost moves every time I achieve it. So every time I read, and to me, the next logical step was to become a trainer and then see what I can do with that. Can I work sober community with that? Can I work in community centers and work with seniors? We'll see what happens.
Oh yeah.
But it was a logical next step.
Yeah, and the war, and I love how this program started out as something to rebuild athletes, and it's basically can cure people. Like myself, I was three.
Mm-hmm.
I think I mentioned this, but I was about 300 pounds, and when I had my first child, and I ran, and he took off on a park. We were just at a park playing, and little kid being a little kid, he just decides, hey, I'm going to run this way. And so dad starts chasing him, and he's getting farther and farther away from me. I can't keep up, and I'm physically going as hard as I can, running. I'm out of, and he would have made it to that road if he didn't stop. He stopped on his own. He turned around. I got
Mm-hmm.
I got extremely lucky that day, and ever since that day, I've been eating better. I've been putting in the time, putting in the reps. Everyone mentioned about my positivity and my how I'm a positive guy. These guys didn't know me years and years ago when I was before DDPY. I was an angry dude, like, and I never want to be that guy again. I had my own mental health issues that did not deal with right, and and the program just basically changed my entire life. And I'm not the guy going like, "Hey, look at me. This is." If somebody asks, I'm going to tell them exactly what's going on and how this program can basically change everything. And it wasn't meant to. It was just at the very beginning, it was meant to just help athletes repair their bodies. And this thing has gone
Mm-hmm.
way beyond that. Oh, and Sarah is awesome. Anybody listening to this, go follow her on Facebook. If you want to get motivated to push yourself better, follow that girl, because just some of the things that she does and says just pushes the right buttons for me to want to put in that extra 2 minutes. Just, hey, I did this. Now I'm gonna try this one move that I can never there, because here, I'll show you for the video people when I eventually post this. This DVD, I've never actually opened it. I've had it for years and years. I've been doing this program. I'm not here yet. Some people are, but I am okay sticking to my wake up every morning, do a fat burner, energy, stand up, any of those basic programs, because if I'd rather stick to the basics than move on to the harder stuff, because for me because if I try to go to the harder stuff, I know it'll be a discouragement, and I know myself well enough. I'm not going to do it again for another week if I fail. And everyone's like, "Oh,
Right.
you got to push yourself." I'd rather, for myself, I'd rather make sure I'm doing the stuff that I like and enjoy than push myself too hard and try. Like, I love seeing the guys doing handstands and doing like Black Crow and all these other moves that I'm like, I know I can push myself, but I'd rather stay at the level. I'm happy where I am. As a 300-pound dude, did I ever think I'd get down to about 220 and have muscle definition and all like the physical changes have been were amazing. I'm still gonna have the gut. I got the stressed out skin. I don't care. I will own that. But I just wake up and I feel better every day than I did then. Like, just waking up without pain and no and getting off of pills. That was a huge thing for me. Like, I was a coffee, 2 ibuprofen, 1 aspirin, and just go. That was my morning. Now I'm actually making food in the morning. Like, I personally, I gave up dairy about 4 months ago now, and just the bloating in my body has gone way down. Like, my stomach is flat. I haven't had this since like my teen years, like where I'm not walking around with this huge gut all the time. But once again,
Congratulations, and that's awesome.
and there's guys on the page who are like 500 pounds, and they're motivating me to get up and push myself a little bit harder. Like one guy who I love seeing, Nathan Munsell. I love watching that guy, because he just gets up, he's doing his absolute best every single day, and he doesn't hide his stuff, the mental health issues. He doesn't hide this, and I'm like, if he can do it, I can, because we're on very different physical fitness levels. You're probably 5 times a week, 6 times a week. I'm guessing.
Yeah. I take maybe a day off right now a week, but I listen to my body, and some weeks it's a lot harder, a lot more extreme. I'm actually just coming out of a fairly I'd say relaxed stretch of the last 6 weeks, because I just did to do some of the easier things and sort of get back to the basics. Like, I loved what you talked about doing the stuff that you enjoy, and I was thinking that too. I like going back to the earlier stuff, the fat burners and stuff. You can only rev your engine at, at top speed for so long before you burn out, right? So I'm just coming out of that. Even though I'm sticking to 5-6 times a week, so I don't buy into that. These people that are saying DDPY every single day, I'm on 297 of 365, and if that works for them, that's great. But I believe in rest days, and I believe in doing what makes you feel good. So I'm right now at about 5 or 6.
Oh yeah. Where myself, I do 3 to 4, but also
perfect.
I work 40 hours a week. I have a lovely wife. I got to keep that. You have to make time. I've been with her 21 years. Tonight we're having a date night, just us. Nice. I have become closer to my wife and children over the pandemic, because before, like, my kids are 14, 12, 11, and 10, 2 boys, 2 girls. So we were driving them around all the time for sports, art classes, and they're all straight A students. Yeah. They're very smart. They get that from my lovely, lovely wife. I was not a good student. But we taught them that school is your job. You have to give 100%. There's no excuses. There's no reason for you to not do that right now at the age they are. Yes, other things come up. There's issues. There's this. Like, one thing, it was a huge deal. Yesterday, my little girl had picked out a new pair of glasses, and she felt rushed. She does have, all my children have some kind of anxiety issues from their different levels. So when they're being rushed or pushed to do something, they'll just do it and not mention anything. But I'm so proud of her because she came to us that night and said, "Hey, this is what happened. I didn't like it. I messed up. I don't like the glasses I got. I just got them because the salesperson seemed very, very pushy." And we're like, "Okay, I will call. We'll cancel the order right now. We'll go again tomorrow, 3 of us after a school. No rush, no problems. Anybody gets on your case, that'll tell them to back off." And she didn't want dad's help. She wanted mom's help. So they took their time, went through everything. Oh my God, I was there for like 2.5 hours, but she got it done. She came to us. She said, "Hey, I want to fix this." And for her, that's a huge win. And people don't, huge, people don't understand that kids are very different than adults. And for them talking to an adult and saying, "Hey, I have a problem," that is a huge thing. And like, one thing I do with kids, I go on my knee because I'm 6'2". I know I'm a big dude. I can be intimidating. Honestly, I'm a big teddy bear, nicest guy on the planet. But you see me, I'm wearing my camo mask. I got my hoodie up, the backwards hat, the shades on. I get it. I can be a little intimidating. But when a little kid comes up and says, "Hi," I will get down on the one knee, take the glasses off, make sure the kid knows they have 100% of my attention. And I don't think a lot of people understand that kids work a little differently than adults. Some people are like, "Oh, I just treat them the same." I'm like, well, that doesn't work. Wow.
Yeah. And especially in today's world, where our kids are so used to communicating non-verbally, through text, screen, etc. Right? That power differential between an adult and themselves in a face-to-face situation is so extreme, so much different than it was when I was a kid, when you were a kid.
Oh yeah.
And I think you've got, it's nice to hear you talk about that and that understanding. Once you build that relationship, obviously you can, stay stay upright and, like with my son, and shit talk him a little bit and all that good stuff. But he's got to know
Oh
you're
yeah.
safe for, right?
Oh yeah.
But
And you got to understand that they're always learning and they're always listening, right? Because am I ever going to say I'm a perfect parent? No. Like, give an example of this this morning over trying, like, my morning routine. I wake up, as soon as I'm up, I'm walking the dog, because if you talk to me before coffee, I'm not a happy a fellow. I am not a morning person. I just get myself out of the house for 20 minutes, half hour, and do my regular wake up routine, and then I come back, I'm happier, unless my dog's being stupid. Um uh we got a husky rescue. We had no idea what kind of dog huskies were.
Hmm.
She was just cute. That's about it. And which is another good thing, because it gets me walking a half hour first thing every a day. But yeah, it's
So
a good.
good. So good for you.
Oh yeah, getting out. And because before the dog, that's something I never did, right? I never walked around the neighborhood. I never um like, I tried taking the family on a walk once, years and years ago. Oh, that was the worst thing ever. Because I seen it on just around the neighborhood. Everyone's like, "Why are we doing this? We know what everything is around here." Oh, so we can just get out and talk, and everyone's in a mood. And then by halfway through, I'm like yelling at them, and because I'm a dad, I yell. It's Sometimes that just happens. Yeah. And then about
Yeah.
10,
Yeah.
10,
No.
10 minutes later, you're like, ah, damn it.
Do the best you can in the moment. That's one thing that my kids and I really started doing since the pandemic too, because, as I said, I'm dealing with everybody else's stress, especially early in
Hmm.
the pandemic, when we thought, if we walked by somebody we might die. It actually reminded me very early of the panic, the AIDS epidemic. And I'm old enough to remember what that was like.
Hmm.
And then, of course, we learn as science improves and we see more examples and et cetera, right? But that early panic, I mean, that was scary for all of us. I had no answers for my kids. I had no answers for half my constituents that were writing me and calling me, and I fell in love again. And if you look at my Facebook page, like does all this guy ever do is walk? Yeah, I fell in love with it again. I mean, I walked when I was a kid all the time. I delivered papers from 6 years old to, have some spending money. And I I was walking 2 kilometers to school every day. I am one of those old guys that says that through all the winter weather and stuff. Because when we moved, I refused to change schools. So, well, fine, you can stay at that school, but you're walking every day. It's fine, and I did. And I forgot about that, right? Because, like you talked about, we drive the kids to appointments and we did all the stuff that parents do. And then all of a sudden, you know, I everything shuts down, and what else do I have to do? Yep, some DDY. I'm stuck on my phone like 18 hours a day. I've got to be my kid's friend, with my wife gone in particular, the
Hmm.
full-time parent, the best friend, their counselor, their, educator, their, whatever, their entertainer. And so we ended up doing a lot of walking as well. And I cannot I cannot emphasize enough how important it is for people to just walk, just get out and walk. I had to start walking them separately, so I was getting double the pleasure, right? Because
Hmm.
thankfully I only have two. Not that four isn't a great blessing, but I
Oh
can't
yeah.
imagine you having to walk four separate times. But
No,
I was
that.
able to do it with the two kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
When with the six of us going on a walk or hike, there's always one that's a little grumpy. So
yeah.
now,
Yeah. Yeah.
now they're at the age I can leave the grumpy one at home. Okay, we're taking the dog out on a trail. Okay, why? Okay, you're not coming. Just um because I live in London and it has a awesome trail one thing about the city I love, it has an awesome trail city setting. You can literally walk from every corner of the city on trails. That's and
That's amazing.
oh yeah, and there's a couple different, but you have to know where they are. There's maps. You have to do a little bit of research, and it's all on online, connected to one of the city websites, which is really really fun. But I think a lot of people just don't get out and walk. But through the pandemic, I think a lot of people's attitudes have genuinely changed about just going out and hanging out and walking and enjoying. Like, I've never had used Zoom before the pandemic. I used Facebook Messenger, or I was texting, or I would send little videos to people. I would never make time to talk to friends, or just I'd be like, hey, this meme's funny. Send that. I was that guy for years because it
Yeah.
was so freaking busy, and kind of a blessing. And like, don't get me wrong, I'm not taking the pandemic lightly in any way, shape, or form. My wife has a degree in she has an honors degree in biological science, so she explains to my dumbass what's actually going on all the time. In Because you see 17 things on the news, and then she's just like, okay, this is what's actually going on with this. This is what's actually happening, and she's explaining it to a lot of people. And then there's the anti-science crowd, and I loved how one guy basically described to a T, why don't we do this? And he described the scientific method, and I'm like, how have you never heard of this? You went to school. How did you never hear of how the scientific method works? I'm just like, oh, then I do a little bit of scrolling. Oh, he was homeschooled. That explains a lot. Okay. Not saying anything bad about homeschool, because people can, people can't. It's one of those things. But I'm not a big fan of the anti-science people, because in the 90s we cloned a sheep. Now we have people we have to convince the earth is not flat. It just
I know. I know. It's
and
been a hard
and
it's been a
as a
really hard,
yeah.
it's been a hard it's been a hard year watching people, and I try to reserve judgment. I see dangerous things being shared. I do try to once in a while intervene if I know a person. But after a while I realized even close family, there's so many articles now written, and so much psychological research now done on what's actually happening to a lot of folks out there, and it kind of sucks. I feel like some people are stuck in a hole,
Mm-hmm.
and it's only getting deeper and deeper and deeper. So I only pray to the end for the end of the pandemic, or whatever you call it. I'm pleading with science and the creator to get us to that point sooner than later, so we can salvage some of our close relationships. Because man, the gaps, the craters between people right now they're just so enormous. And I mean, it used to be kind of fun to watch people's lack of information or lack of knowledge of basic science, but now it's just shockingly scary
Yeah,
how
just
entrenched people are.
like, and then the social media things, just letting people spread nonsense, and then not taking their accounts down, or um that's my biggest issue with social media. I'm like, so okay, I know we talked previously not to discuss politics, but when Donald Trump incited a riot, I don't care what people say, he did. In my personal
Mm-hmm.
opinion, he incited a riot for people to take Capitol Hill, and
Yep.
it took that for Twitter to ban his account after years of him
Yeah.
just hate speech and talking negatively about not just individuals, or not just like entire countries and entire groups of their people. And I'm like, where my personal opinion on racism and that stuff, there is so many other reasons to dislike people if you get to know them, and just like, hey, this guy's a dick, not because of his skin color, race, creed, or anything. No, this guy's just kind of an ass. Like, all you gotta, and that may have came off really wrong, but it just, I don't, I don't know, maybe growing up in the 90s, which was very much in my high school years were the 90s, where everyone was very inclusive, and we were trying to get away from all the racism and all that stuff. And um I was also a musician, so I was jamming with like-minded people and trying to change the world in our own little pocket. And I think the separation now compared to then is so much wider, and I have no idea how that particularly happened. Maybe it's because of social media, and people just screaming from the kind of screaming from the rooftops, to being like, hey, I hate this. Okay, why don't you promote what you love instead of saying, oh, I dislike this? That just
Yeah.
a very much me idea. I'm like, why would I interact with somebody I have nothing in common with, no interest in learning what this guy has to share? But
The problem with that, though, is that we then create for ourselves a vacuum of
yeah,
only hearing the things that we're comfortable hearing, right? And that's,
yeah.
I think, one of the greatest dangers of open mic of social media, which I call open mic night for the idiots. It's or I liken it to, you're a musician, and as a musician myself, early days of going to karaoke. I remember thinking, like, why do those folks think that they should be up there singing? I, can they not hear themselves? Wow. But everybody's welcome. And, that's innocuous. And I love that people can go up there and have a great time. And I'm 100% all about it. But it does cross the line when, it transitioned into this, hey, everybody's got a voice, and I'm 100% behind that too. But when it's allowed to propagate so much hate and divisiveness, and quite frankly, anti-science, that is legitimately dangerous to people. Or in this, you're okay. I know we weren't going to go that deep into it, but Trump is one of the biggest manipulators on the planet.
Yeah.
He knows who the people are that are following him. He knows how to play them, and they don't know that they're being played. And that's the biggest crime out of all of it, in my opinion, because they're simply being used and they don't even know it. He doesn't give two shits about those people.
Yeah.
He's simply manipulating them to his dirty work. And I think that that is one of the biggest crimes of social media, is that shit is to happen.
Yeah. Going forward, I think social media is going to have more, I don't know if they're going to be restrictions or this or that, but who knows? I'm just, as a fly on the wall, I'm very curious to see what happens next, because one guy having a huge following, yes, he was the president, but say somebody else gets a huge, these guys put another guy on the top, and they start listening to him. And you're right, I just genuinely feel bad for the people that got used, because they don't know better. Yeah. That's it. Okay.
Well, and we should never be put in a situation where we have to have one or the other too, because then, unfortunately, for a lot of people, it puts them in a compromising position where they're saying, let's say this president versus that president. Well, maybe they both fucking suck.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have to defend this other guy who just got in either, because he's already made shitty decisions. However, that's where that gap and that crater has put us, where we're both teetering on the edge of falling into the pit. And then we have to take a side. And I think that's the most unfortunate part. That's why I love municipal politics, because in fact, I don't have to take a side, one or the other. I think municipal politics is the purest form of politics and community engagement, and where we can actually work together. And I think it's a really good model that could see, wrestling promotions use that, so that instead of saying, I don't know, in Ontario, this company versus that company, or we see that AEW versus WWE. Well, AEW is smashing down all those barriers now,
Mm-hmm.
whether you like their product or not. Man, they're showing everybody that if you work together, you can create some pretty cool shit, and you can please an awful lot of people and make money. And I think that, to me, is really where that's a microcosm of what of something we could adapt into life in general, right? And
Oh, yeah.
that's why I love municipal politics. To me, it's exactly the same. I have far right wing people that vote for me that hate when I speak up about social issues, but they still vote for me as a municipal politician. I have far left people that get pissed off because I'm not hard enough on certain social issues, because I believe that I have to find the compromise, or we're just going to lose it entirely. But that, to me, is the great gift of municipal politics.
And what was I'm kind of curious what the conversation with your lovely wife was when you decided, you know what, I think I'm going to run for office.
Yeah, it was I don't know if she was so much surprised. She should have been, because I was only 4 months sober at the time, and I was going through a lot of growth and a lot of self-discovery the first time I ran. But I'm one things that we didn't touch on at all, and that's fine, is that I'm a documentary filmmaker. In my previous world, I met some pretty incredible people that changed the world, in not only in their little circles, but like I worked on a film about a guy who desegregated Bermuda.
Wow.
And went on and ran with Malcolm X, and he set up something African Methodist Episcopal churches, and so and then on and on. I worked with Mike Stevens, who basically gave up his the first time I shot with him was in the Grand Ole Opry, and the next thing you know, we're in Nunavut. We're in remote flying community in northern Canada, where kids are sniffing gas. So I had a lot of exposure to some amazing people who taught me an awful lot about advocacy and about the world and about justice. And I used to joke with her, I'll never move back to Sarnia, because we moved away, unless I move back and become mayor. And I remember that conversation. I kind of said to her, I was looking at there was a newspaper article that had the deadlines for registering for nominations, and I was sitting in the living room, and I said, remember how I used to say I'd never come back to Sarnia unless I was running for mayor? She just looked at me. She went, oh no, please no. I was like, I'm thinking council. I'm thinking council. And she's like, oh no, are you sure you want to do that? I said, I can't just sit around and not use this gift of a second life that I've been given. I know I was only 4 months sober at the time, but I really felt like I would never drink again, and very committed to that. And this is every 4 years opportunity. I said, I would hate for 6 months down the road for me to think, yeah, I really should have taken it at that, and now I have to wait another 3.5 years. So I put my name on the ballot, and I didn't get in the first time. But it just started this unbelievable trajectory of community work and community advocacy that I'm not only super proud of, but from a personal level, as a very selfish individual, it gave me so much and allowed to grow and become the human being I'd always dreamed of. And I'm not done. I'm learning. I fuck things up all the time still. I'm always that guy, but to know where I've come from 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I couldn't have done it without having the support of the community and being that involved. So from a personal, selfish level, it's been an unbelievable growth opportunity for me. And I think Muff now is certainly more appreciative of that experience. But at the time, the idea that we'd be under a microscope, it still is tough. But
Oh yeah, because one thing I've been thinking about eventually running for city council for years and years, because my family is very involved and I'm honestly thinking about it. One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, the councillor in my riding, Mohammed Salih, he's not running again. I was lucky enough.
Yeah, I saw that. Great dude.
I was lucky enough to be there when he actually announced he's running for city council. I was the manager of the restaurant that he rented, and I'm like, no, I'm going to watch this guy because the passion that he genuinely has, it's not a fake thing, guys. Because I was talking to him, just me and him. He is a legit dude. He's not a BS guy. He's not a quote unquote politician. Because if he says he's going to do something, he does it. And Jesse Homer, I've been amazed with that guy's what that guy's done. I'm personally, I'm hoping they go into provincial, federal, some kind of other politics. And the reason they decided to step down was amazing. They just wanted more diversity and more. They didn't want the same council for years and years and years and years. So I totally respect those guys for realizing that. And because I thought, okay, in about 20 years, Jesse Homer's going to be mayor of London, and Mo's going to be the deputy mayor. I really thought that was going to happen, but all the best to both of those guys. But it also opens up a couple of seats in London. So, and once again, I'm just thinking about it, guys. That's all it is right now. It just because I got
you got time, right? You got almost you got a year and a half to put that into perspective before you put your name on the ballot.
Oh yeah, it just because I never wanted to run against Mo. I respect him way too much, and he's one of the few councillors. He takes a jog through our community once a week, and he lives in the riding. Like, I don't know if a lot of politicians do that or not, but I run into him about once a month when he's jogging or doing this or doing that, and just like, hey, how's the day going? Good. I got to keep going. Got to keep heart rate up. And I'm like, all right, Mo, see you, buddy. But if I'm ever walking with the kids, he stops. And hey, guys, how's it going? Yeah. Pre-pandemic, he would always give them like a high five or something. Hey, guys, you going to school? Da, da, da. Always a positive quote. Always something. Because he takes
He's a super nice guy. I got funny. I've been watching Mo since he started because he ran for the NDP nomination. I'll say about 7-8 years ago, and he was running for the NDP nomination against a friend of mine who'd been the previous NDP candidate provincially. A guy who happens to share my birthday, and we met each other at candidate school when I ran for the NDP. And so when this guy was running for the next nomination, I thought, well, it's automatic. Like, you should just, why would anyone in the party run against somebody who's, already built a name for themselves, deserves a second chance? And then this guy, I started to learn who this Mo guy was, and I started to pay attention to him. And I really, respect him because, he, as you say, he's a very down-to-earth guy. He's a great example of what a city councillor could and should be, in my opinion. So yeah, when he first got elected, I did too, same year, and Jesse did, and I went all on my own actually to London because talking about being there forever. We have a mayor here who's been in office for 30 something years. And I thought, well, I want to go learn how somebody else does things. So I went to watch a London City Council meeting and just sit up in the gallery and just watch them do business innocuously. And then like partway through the meeting, I checked my Twitter and Mo's sent me a message and said, "Is that you up there?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, it's me." Right. Like he's like looking at me from up from down below, and I'm up there. And then he just kind of gives me a little wink and a nod. He's like, and so then he like writes a little note, and I saw him pass a note there, and then the mayor looks up, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" And so then the mayor announced my attendance as a special guest and as a councillor from Sarnia. And I just thought that was the most, and then Mo sent me a message and said, "Well, why don't you join us for dinner after?" And I just thought, well, that's just a super gracious dude. I was just there to spy, and to learn. And they were all new too, right? So, I mean, I just wanted to see procedural things, not necessarily what the experience in the bank looked like. It was more of a, let's just what they do in London procedurally differently and stuff. And yeah, we went up, we had a great time, great conversations. I went a year later again, and then we got to chat, at conferences and stuff like that. And you've got some great people in London to model yourself after. And that, to me, like, if you really want to do it, like, do that. Be that person. And that's what's so awesome about city councils, is you can just be yourself. I wasn't a professional wrestler the first time I ran. I wondered what it would do to my constituency and my quote unquote public image by getting involved in it. But by the time I ran the second time and got reelected, like 90% of the time I run into people in the grocery store in the park, they just want to talk wrestling and not politics. So it ended up working out pretty well. And, again, just demonstrates that what people are looking for in a city councilor is somebody who they can connect with. Right. And that's really the main thing. You might make decisions that people don't like. Most people are gracious about that. They might not be so super gracious in the moment. But I tend to find that maybe after a week or a month, that conversation's long history, and you're talking about the issues of the day or wrestling, which is cool.
Awesome. Well, you have been super, super gracious with your time, and do you have a minute to do the Guilmy Talks 10? It's just 10 either or.
Yeah, sure.
Either or questions. They're sent in by my listeners, and I got one for you actually sent in specifically for you. So I'll start with that particular one. DDPY or the beard?
Shit. DDPY.
Well, I like that call.
That's tough.
Hey, the beard always grows back. Online shopper.
I will grow big giant ass sunburns if I have to, as long as I can stick with DDPY.
Shout out to Chops. All right. Which was the next one? Oh, couch or recliner?
Recliner.
I find once you hit 40, recliners are the greatest thing ever.
Yeah. They really are screwing up my neck right now, but I still enjoy it.
Oh, yeah, of course. But pirate or Viking?
Viking.
Sunglasses or hat?
Sunglasses. All day, every day, even in the rain.
Yeah, I find I'm wearing my shades more and more just because I kind of like the mask. You can't see the face, and then with the shades on, you can't see the eyes, so you're just kind of I just find it funny.
I thought that would work for me too, but apparently my eyebrows and my hairline are a dead giveaway, so everyone still knows it's me when I'm out.
Oh yeah, like I actually was at work the other day, and my coworkers did not recognize me. except for one. Because like,
Sweet.
what are you doing? Like hiding? Why? It's my day off. uh, uh, Mac or PC?
Mac.
Reading or movies?
The filmmaker in me should make this easier, but reading.
Roses or daisies?
Daisies.
Hockey or football?
Hockey.
Judas Priest or Iron Maiden?
Ooh.
I love asking musicians this question.
Damn. Iron Maiden.
And last but not least, toilet paper, over or under?
Unpopular opinion.
Yeah. Oh, some people go on entire rants on this. Some people don't. It just, I love how sometimes people are just like, I don't fucking care. It's just there. It's good.
Yeah, I know.
Then,
yeah, I know. But try having a cat that wants to spin it. If it's under, it's not going anywhere.
Oh, well, exactly. See, that's a good answer for under. And if people want to follow you on social media, where can they find you?
All right. Facebook is Brian White for Sarnia Lambton. That's my political page. Otherwise, you can add me as a friend at It's Brian White. Twitter and Instagram is White519. So at Brian White 519. No periods. Brian, spelt the right way, not with that Y like those fake ass Brians.
Oh yeah. All right, man. Thank you very, very much. And I'm just gonna say it right now. Wow, that was a really fun interviewing Brian White. I really enjoyed it. It was so much fun talking to him, and hopefully I'll get him back on in a little bit because it was so much fun. And once again, guys, go check out all those podcast networks. And because there's a lot of amazing shows on there, just on the Genres network, there is the Grappuccino show I'm listening to, Work the Left Side. Go check those guys out because it is amazing. It is phenomenal what these guys are coming together and using its collaboration over competition. We're helping each other out and celebrating everyone's successes. And I'm noticing my global downloads are actually starting to creep up more and more, which I love seeing. So you guys, whoever's downloading the show, who's ever checking it out, send me maybe add an either or to the Guilmy Talks 10 because that's all from you guys. And I absolutely love it. Bats in the Belfry, art.com. Go check out Jimmy Vanderlei. I cannot pronounce that guy's last name. Hard to V's. And once again, I am now a member of 2 Patreons. This is Brendan, which is amazing. He's just dropping tons and tons of content weekly. Patreon only, exclusive podcasts, video chats, Zooms, watch-alongs. It is just so much fun to be a part of it. I wish I had more time to be more active on it, but the Tiger and the Wolf podcast is hysterical. I'm really digging that. And the ABC conversations with Brendan and Anthony and Brendan conversations, that's also really fun. And the second one I joined up is Good Brother Morning. I am loving the podcast with Eazy-E and Rex Atkins. Rex is a part of the OIW podcast network, and he is doing phenomenal things with his show. And I love seeing the growth because his What You Talking About, the interview show, and then He also has Good Brother Morning, which I love. I love waking up, walking the dog, listening to Good Brother Morning, because by the time that podcast over, so's the walk with the dog. So go check those guys out. And what else is going on? Today is my catch-up day around the house. That's about it. My son's helping me clean the bathroom ceiling. I'm going to be painting it next week, so I just need to give it another kind of a clean rub off, whatever. Just use the TSC stuff on the TSP. I don't know, the blue milk container stuff that you use for cleaning walls and ceilings. Absolutely love it. Going to be using that all over the house, because going to be painting and catching up for the next little bit, because why the hell not? It's spring cleaning time. We are currently purging the house as well, and if anybody wants any graphic novels, message me, because I'm going to be getting rid of all my books soon. We can talk price, or even just message me and say, hey, I want to read some stuff. Okay. Because I have a little bit from everything. So you want to buy a bunch of graphic novels, because I got rid of the 10 long boxes of comics I had. So, all right, guys. Once again, thank you very much for listening. Go check out everybody I mentioned. It's going to be in the show description as well. And talk to you next time. Bye, guys.